Dream of the Red Chamber, Chapter 52.
We talk a lot about Dream of the Red Chamber as, this epic romance or a tragedy about a family in decline. But if you really zoom in, it's also just a brutal corporate case study.
Oh, absolutely.
And today we are cracking open Chapter 52, specifically the shrimp whisker bracelet incident.
hmm
And honestly, this chapter is a total masterclass in crisis management, internal politics, and the art of the cover-up.
It really is. You look at the title and think, okay, missing bracelet and a sick maid.
Mm.
But what's underneath that is this intense analysis of different leadership styles.
Right.
You've got the CEO figure managing public perception, the middle managers hiding failures to protect the brand, and then the staff just breaking down under the pressure.
And we are going to get into all of it. We have a theft that threatens to completely humiliate our main character, Bayou. We have this, diplomatic cover-up that would make a press secretary jealous.
Ah.
And we also get this really bizarre, fascinating look at 18th century Western medicine, which kind of highlights the massive wealth gap in this house.
That medical part is so key. It's not just a fun fact. When we get to the snuff and the plasters, you have to pay attention. It tells you exactly why everyone is fighting so hard to stay in that inner circle.
Okay, so let's start at the top, right? Up with the C-suite before we get down into the details. The chapter opens with what feels like a performance review happening at a party.
Right in the middle of everything.
You have the matriarch grandmother Jia holding court, and she starts praising Wang Shifeng. Now, for anyone who knows the book, Shifeng is the bad cop, she's the enforcer, but here she's getting all these compliments.
And it's a very calculated moment. Grandmother Jia admits something she rarely does. She says, I usually don't praise you.
Why not?
Well, her logic is that she doesn't want Shifeng to get arrogant, big face, and she doesn't want the other in-laws to get jealous. But she breaks her own rule. She has to, because she sees how well Shifeng manages that difficult middle management layer, the aunts, the sisters-in-law.
That's the hardest part of the job, isn't it? It's easy to be nice to the golden boy Bayou, but keeping all the bitter, overlooked relatives happy, that takes real skill.
Precisely. And Xifeng's response to this praise is it's what makes her so compelling. There's this heavy superstition at the time that too much cleverness shortens your life. You burn too bright, you burn out fast.
So it's almost a backhanded compliment. You're so brilliant, you're probably going to die young.
In a way, yeah. So Xifeng has to deflect that bad energy immediately. She doesn't just say thank you, she flips it. She points right at the matriarch and says, that can't be true. Because you, old ancestor, you're 10 times smarter than me, and look at you, you're blessed with a long life.
She uses the boss's own success to disprove the curse. That's so fast.
But then she takes it a step further with this joke. She says, I'm not going to die. I'm going to live 1,000 years.
And she says something like, I'm waiting for you to go first. Otherwise, what's the point?
Exactly. And then the punchline.
Yeah.
Grandmother Jia calls them both old demons or old monsters who will be left behind when everyone else is gone.
Which is the perfect setup for what happens next. Because while Jifeng is up there talking about power and immortality, down on the ground level in Bayou's apartment, it's all falling apart.
The transition is so stark. We go from the laughter of the main hall to Bayou's quiet quarters. It smells like medicine, and all the servants are gone.
This is where Bayou gets home and finds his favorite maid, Qingwen, sick in bed. But his whole support team is missing. Musk Moon, his steady, reliable aide, is nowhere.
And Qingwen is immediately suspicious. She's lying there with a fever, face bright red, but her mind is just racing. She tells Bayou that Musk Moon went off with Pinger, who is Zhifeng's chief of staff, and they were acting all secretive.
She calls it sneaky. Qingwen has a nose for trouble. She knows that when the chief of staff pulls a senior manager into a private meeting, it's never good news.
And she's right. Bayou kind of tries to brush it off, but his curiosity gets the better of him. And he does something that just reminds you he's still a teenager. He sneaks out the back door to go eavesdrop under a window.
I love this part. We're suddenly crouching there in the dirt with him, listening in on this conversation that's about to solve the mystery of the shrimp whisker bracelet.
And the news is bad. Pinger is debriefing Musk Moon. A bracelet was stolen. But it wasn't an outsider. It wasn't one of the poor relations, which is what everyone assumed.
That was the easy story, right? Blame the poor maids from Aunt Sing's house. It fits the whole narrative of the outsiders are the problem.
It's the convenient narrative. But the truth is way more damaging. An older nanny found the bracelet, and she figured out who the thief was. It's a girl named Sweer.
A junior maid who works directly for Bayou.
It's an inside job.
That's a manager's nightmare. Your own team member, your responsibility is stealing from the company.
And stealing while everyone's distracted. It makes Bayu's whole house look undisciplined. If Xufeng finds out officially, her hands are tied. Theft means expulsion, maybe worse, public humiliation.
Pinger has the evidence. She works for the old demon Xifeng. Her job is to enforce the rules. But she decides to bury it.
This is the moment Pinger really shows she's different from Xifeng. She engineers this very sophisticated cover-up. She tells Musk Moon she's already lied to their boss.
She lied to Xifeng. That seems, incredibly risky.
Extremely. She told Xifeng she found the bracelet herself. And I love the little detail she adds. She said she found it in the garden, yellow and glistening in the snow after the sun came out.
Ah, the specific detail. That's the key to a good lie, isn't it? It makes it sound real.
Exactly. Xifeng buys it. Gets closed. But Musk Moon asks the obvious question. Why? Why protect a thief? And Pinger's explanation is just this masterclass in emotional intelligence. She gives 3 reasons, and not one of them is, I felt sorry for her.
Right, this is not charity, it's politics.
First, she says she's doing it to protect Baoyu. She knows he's sensitive and competitive. If he finds out his own maid is a thief, he'll be humiliated. He'll feel like his team is inferior. She's protecting his ego.
She's managing up. Don't let the boss feel bad about his own department's failures.
Second, it saves face for the elders, for Grandmother Jia and Madame Wang. Scandals are disruptive. And third, and this is the most pragmatic reason, she's protecting the senior staff people like Musk Moon and the head maid Sharon.
Because if a junior steals, the seniors get blamed for failure to supervise.
Exactly. It's collective punishment. So Pinger proposes what is basically a soft firing. She tells her, keep your mouth shut, wait for Jiren to come back. Then in a few weeks, find some other excuse. Say she's lazy or she broke a cup and get rid of Zira quietly.
A slow walk dismissal. Avoid the scandal, but get the same result. It's brilliant. But there's one problem. One variable.
Ah, yes. The Qingwen problem. Pinger grabs Musk Moon and says, whatever you do, do not tell Qingwen. She calls her a piece of exploding charcoal.
Which is just the best description of a coworker I think I have ever heard.
Yeah.
We've all worked with an exploding charcoal.
We have competent but zero emotional regulation. Pinger knows Qingwen operates on pure principle. She hates injustice. If she finds out Zuir is a thief, she won't care about politics or saving face. She will scream. She'll probably hit the girl. She'll blow the whole cover-up wide open.
She's a liability, so the plan is silence. But, and this is the tragedy of it, Bayu heard the whole thing. He knows the #1 rule is don't tell Qingwen.
And what's the first thing he does when he crawls back inside?
He walks right over to her sickbed and tells her everything.
It's just unbelievable. He sits down, looks at this girl who is burning up with a fever, and spills the entire secret.
Why does he do that? I mean, really, why? He knows it's going to cause a massive problem.
I don't think it's stupidity. I think it's a total lack of boundaries. Bayu sees his maids as extensions of himself. He can't hold a thought. He wants to share the drama, the intimacy of the secret. He doesn't get that information is dangerous. He just thinks it's gossip.
And the exploding charcoal immediately catches fire.
Instantly. Even sick, she goes ballistic. The text says her phoenix eyes went round. She demands they bring Zuire in right now so she can confront her. She's ready to start a fight from her sickbed.
And Bayu panics. He realizes, oh no, I just broke the one rule.
He has to beg her. He basically uses emotional blackmail. He says, if you explode now, you're betraying Pinger's kindness. She risked everything to cover this up, and you're going to ruin it.
And that's the only thing that works, loyalty to Pinger.
Right. She agrees to wait, but she's furious. She says, I can't stand this breath I'm holding. And this is where that connection comes in. You had this social toxicity, the theft, the lies, the suppressed rage, and physically you have Qingwen's body just failing. The social sickness and the physical sickness are completely mirroring each other.
Which leads us to the solution for her sickness, and this is where the chapter takes a really sharp turn. Baoyu decides the traditional Chinese medicine isn't working fast enough. He wants the imported stuff. He calls for the Western snuff.
It's such a vivid image. He pulls out this box, and the description is just so lavish. It's made of gold inlaid gold star glass. But the detail that just stops you is the picture inside the lid.
The naked angel.
Well, the text calls it a woman with yellow hair and meat wings growing out of her ribs.
Meat wings? That sounds horrifying.
It does. But if you're a Qing Dynasty noble who has never seen a Renaissance painting of a cherub, that's exactly what it looks like. It's a biological anomaly.
It just shows the huge cultural gap. They're using this luxury Western product, but the imagery is totally alien. So Qingwen takes the snuff. It's called Wangqi. And what happens?
It is potent. It's sour, spicy, goes right to the brain. She sneezes 5 or 6 times. Tears, mucus, everything comes out. It clears her head. But Baoyu's not done. He wants to treat the headache, too. So he sends Musk Moon to ask Xifeng for a Western plaster.
Of course, Xifeng has the stash of imported drugs.
It fits her character perfectly.
Yeah.
The plaster is called Yufuna. Musk Moon brings it back, cuts 2 little circles, warms them up, and sticks them on Qingwen's temples.
And then there's that weird little fashion moment. Musk Moon looks at her and says, you know, you looked like a messy ghost before, but with these little patches, you actually look kind of saucy.
It becomes an aesthetic. But just pause and think about the economics here. This is why the theft is so important. You have Zwayer, a junior maid, stealing a bracelet to sell for maybe a few months' worth of food. Meanwhile, Baoyu and Qingwen are treating a common cold with imported luxury goods that probably cost more than Zwayer will earn in her entire life.
That puts it all in perspective. The snuff, the gold box, the Yafuna plaster, these are pure status symbols. Baoyu is literally pasting wealth onto his maid's face to cure a headache, while another maid is risking her life to steal a piece of it.
That is the core tension. Pinger isn't just managing a theft, she's managing the friction of extreme inequality. She knows that exposing the thief exposes the rod at the bottom of the whole system. By covering it up, she maintains the illusion that everything is perfect and harmonious.
The scene shifts abruptly. Just picture the absolute worst winter day you can imagine. The wind is howling, it's freezing.
The kind of damp cold that just gets in your bones.
Exactly, just miserable out there. But now imagine stepping through this heavy insulated curtain, and instantly the wind just stops, the temperature jumps, and you're hit with this layered fragrance. There's incense, brewing medicine, and the sharp, clean scent of blooming flowers.
And in front of you, you see this group of, well, some of the smartest, wittiest teenagers in literature, all kind of piled together on a single piece of furniture, just hanging out.
It's such a perfect picture. It feels less like a scene from a classical novel and more like an intellectual slumber party.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
That is exactly the vibe we are exploring today. We're looking at what we're calling atmospheric aesthetics.
I love that phrase.
We're going to see how the author, Cao Liken, builds this incredible sense of intimacy, not through big plot twists, but through small things, through the environment, through objects like heater covers, flower pots, and get this, a sudden, completely unexpected story about a sword-wielding foreign poetess.
Which is honestly one of the wildest curveballs in the entire novel. It comes out of nowhere.
It really does. Okay, we'll get to the warrior poetess, but first let's set the stage. We're in the Bamboo Lodge. This is Dayu's place.
Right. And Baoyu, our protagonist, walks in. He's just come from seeing his grandmother, and he walks into this room. And what does he see?
Well, he walks into a crowd. You've got his cousins Bao Chai, Bao Ken, and Xingjian all packed into this room.
And because it's freezing, they aren't sitting on formal chairs. They're all perched together on the zunlong.
Okay, let's pause on the zunlong. I mean, the translations usually call it a warming frame or a heater cover.
Yeah, but that really doesn't do it justice, does it?
Not at all. You have to imagine like a big wooden lattice frame placed over a charcoal brazier.
And in these old, drafty houses, this wasn't just a heater. It was the absolute gravitational center of the room in winter. Big enough to sit on, lean on.
So they're physically shoulder to shoulder, knees touching. It forces a level of intimacy you just don't get in the rest of the book where everyone is so formal.
Exactly. And there's this great moment when Baoyu comes in. He's usually the center of attention.
The golden boy.
Right. But here, they just look up and joke, there's nowhere for you to sit.
I love that. It's so dismissive, but in that really warm family kind of way. You only say that to someone you actually want there.
Precisely. It signals he's an insider, he's in the safe space, and pay attention to where he ends up sitting. He finds the chair that Dayu usually uses. It's covered with a gray squirrel fur throw, and he just plopped down in it.
That detail, the gray squirrel fur, that's not just about luxury, is it? He's choosing her chair.
Oh, there's definitely a layer there. I mean, in this world, personal space, personal objects, it's all highly coded. By taking her seat, he's putting himself right in her personal bubble.
And he makes a comment that sort of frames the whole scene. He says, this room feels warmer than the others.
And you have to wonder, is it actually warmer? Or is it the psychological warmth of the company?
A bit of both, probably.
I think so. And then he gives the scene a title right then and there. He calls it Winter Gijian 2.
Which is something like a painting of gathered beauties in the winter boudoir.
Exactly. Classic Baoyu.
Yeah.
He steps outside of his own life to appreciate it as if it's art. He sees his cousins on the heater, the made by the window, and he frames it. He's saying, this moment right here is a masterpiece.
He's the audience for their life. But his eye doesn't just stay on the people. It drifts over to a very specific object. The flowers.
The Narcissus, or Shui Jian in Chinese water immortals.
And these aren't just any flowers. The book describes them as single-petal narcissus in a jade stone basin with rocks. It sounds just incredibly elegant.
It is. And Bao Yu is immediately struck by them. He says, the warmer the room, the clearer the fragrance. It's this great sensory detail. But, the presence of these flowers actually kicks off a really complex little social drama.
Right, because we have to trace the supply chain here. The flowers didn't start with Dai.
No, they didn't. They were originally a gift from Aunt Lai, who is the wife of the chief steward. She gave them to Baoken, the younger, well-traveled cousin.
Who is sort of the new favorite in the house at this point.
Very much so. And Baoken, being generous, re-gifted them. She sent these narcissus to Dai Yu and some wax plum to another cousin, Tanshan.
So Bao Yu is admiring them, saying how exquisite they are, and Dai Yu's reaction is, well, it's peak Dai Yu. She tries to get rid of them.
It's a moment that can be really confusing if you don't get her mindset. She tells Bao Yu, I am cured in medicine. She says her medicine pot is always on the fire.
So she's worried about the smell, that the medicinal fumes are clashing with the floral scent.
On the surface, yes. But if you dig a little deeper, Dai Yu often sees her illness as a kind of spiritual stain, a character flaw. She feels her medicine atmosphere, her sickness, is fundamentally at odds with the pure, clean, immortal scent of the flowers.
So when she offers them to Bao Yu, saying, you take them, let them get some fresh air, she's not just being generous.
Not at all. She's trying to protect the flowers from herself. She's saying, I am a contaminant to beauty.
That's heartbreaking.
It is. She feels she ruins the aesthetic just by existing in her sick state.
But Bao Yu doesn't take the bait, and this is where I think he shows some real emotional intelligence. A lesser character would have just said, oh, thanks, and taken the pot.
Right. But he refuses.
Yeah.
And he does it for two reasons. One is just pure etiquette.
Okay.
Baoken gave them to Dai Yu. If Bai Yu just takes them, it's a huge sign of disrespect to the original giver.
Yeah.
It breaks the whole chain.
Social suicide, basically.
Pretty much. But the second reason is pure empathy. He tells her, I also have a sick person brewing medicine in my room today.
He's talking about his maid, Qingwen, who we know has been really sick.
Exactly. He doesn't name her, but Dai Yu gets it. He's leveling the playing field. He's telling her, you aren't the only one living in a medicine atmosphere. My room is the same. He refuses to let her isolate herself.
He's saying, if you're contaminated, then so am I. We're in this together.
Precisely. It neutralizes her insecurity without a big speech. Just a very gentle way of saying, your room is fine. You are fine.
So the flowers stay. The crisis is averted. And because this is a room full of hyper-literate teenagers, the conversation naturally turns from smelling flowers to
writing about flowers. Of course. Bai Yu is all inspired. He wants the poetry club to meet the next day to write verses about them.
And Dai Yu immediately shuts that down. She literally covers her face.
It's this cute, playful gesture, but she says, I don't dare write poetry anymore. Every time I do, I get penalized. It's shameful.
She's fishing for a compliment, right?
A little bit, yeah. But she's also just tired of the pressure. The poetry club is basically a competitive sport.
But then Bao Chai steps in. Now, Bao Chai is usually the sensible one, the rule follower. But here, she proposes a challenge that is, frankly, ridiculous.
It is. She's just teasing Bai Yu. She suggests they write a poem with the title Ode to the Taiji diagram.
The yin-yang symbol, which is already a super philosophical, heavy topic for a casual hangout.
But the topic's not the hard part. It's the constraint she adds. She says they have to use the one jian rhyme scheme.
Okay, we need to break this down because Chinese poetry rules are intense.
Go ahead.
What is the one jian rhyme scheme and why is it a nightmare?
So in classical Chinese poetry, rhymes are all sorted into strict categories. Bao Chai isn't just saying use this rhyme family. She's saying they have to use every single rhyming word available in that category.
Every single one?
Every one, in a single 5-character regulated verse. It's like saying write a profound sonnet, but you must use every single word in the dictionary that ends in azaation.
So it's just a word salad challenge. You can't make good art that way.
You can't. And Baoken, the world traveler, she calls it out immediately. She's the voice of artistic integrity. She says, that's not poetry. That's just stuffing words from the I Ching and shuffling them around.
Stuffing words. I love that. She's arguing that just because something is difficult doesn't make it good.
Which is such a key insight. They have strong opinions on aesthetics. They value genuine flavor over just following rigid rules. And this debate is the perfect setup for the bombshell Boken is about to drop.
This is where the episode just takes a sharp left turn. We go from a cozy room and all the way to the West Sea.
Yeah. Boken decides to illustrate her point about real talent by telling a story from her childhood. She says when she was 8, she went with her father to the coast to trade for foreign goods.
And there she met a girl from the kingdom of Zenzen.
And we had to pause on the description here because the author goes all out. This girl is 15. She has golden hair, braided and draped in coral, cat's eye gems, and emeralds.
Golden hair and emeralds, it's so striking.
But it's the outfit that gets me. She's wearing a vest made of gold wire woven chainmail.
Chainmail. We're in a story about poetry and tea, and suddenly there's armor.
And to top it off, she's carrying a Japanese sword, a wo dao inlaid with gold and gems.
A golden-haired, chainmail-wearing teenage girl with a katana. It's like an anime character just got dropped into the novel. It completely shatters the aesthetic of the room.
Bayou's reaction is perfect. He just says, even paintings aren't this good looking. He's completely captivated.
But Baoken's point isn't just about how cool she looks. It's about her mind.
Right. That's the whole contrast. You have this martial, foreign exterior, but inside, this girl has a mastery of Chinese culture. Baoken says she knew the 5 classics. She could write poetry and lyrics in Chinese.
And her father even got a translator to write down one of her poems.
Which, of course, creates a total frenzy in the room. Bayou is begging, show it to me. Show me the poem.
But Baoken plays coy. She says it's back in Nanjing. And Daiyu, who's like a human lie detector, immediately calls her out. You're lying. I know you brought everything with you.
And Belkai tries to cover for her. But eventually they give in. They'll recite it from memory. But, and I love this detail, they can't just recite it for themselves. They need the proper experts.
They send a maid running to get Shan Yun and Shangling.
Right. The poetry madman and the poetry nerd, because a masterpiece from a foreign beauty requires the proper audience.
And that's the irony, isn't it? If this girl's from the kingdom of Zenzen, you'd expect her poem to be, well, alien.
But it's not. It is classic, refined, and deeply sentimental.
So Baoken recites it. What stands out to you in the poem itself?
Well, it's technically perfect. It has images like island clouds steaming the ocean, but the real core is in the middle, she writes. The moon has no past or present. Love naturally has shallow and deep.
The moon has no past or present. That feels incredibly modern, almost existential.
It does. It's like she's saying the moon is this universal concept, but human emotion love, that's what's variable and has depth.
And the poem ends with this longing for China, asking, how can I not care?
So just to recap, we have a girl in foreign armor with a sword on the coast of the West Sea, writing a poem about how much she misses Chinese culture.
And doing it better than the locals. That's what the group concludes, right?
That's their verdict. They are floored. They openly admit she beats us.
That's a huge admission. I mean, usually in literature from this period, the civilized center looks down on the barbaric periphery. But here, they're bowing to her talent.
It's this amazing moment of cross-cultural recognition. They realize a poetic soul isn't bound by ethnicity or geography. Even someone who wears chainmail instead of silk can understand the Red Tower dream.
Wait, did you say Red Tower Dream?
I did. The poem explicitly uses the phrase. It's a total meta-reference. It's like the character is winking at us, the reader.
Wow. So it disrupts their entire worldview?
Right.
It suggests that culture isn't something you're just born into. It's something you feel and understand.
Exactly. It expands the boundaries of their little world. They started the day huddled on a heater, and now they're mentally traveling to the West Sea.
So the room is buzzing. They're on this intellectual high. And then, pop.
The bubble bursts. Reality crashes the party in the form of a maid named Sheiyu.
And what's the news?
Oh, it's totally administrative. Madam Wang is unwell, so Bao Yu has to go to his uncle's house at the crack of dawn to represent the family.
The fun is over. The atmospheric aesthetic just dissolves into feudal duty.
The gathering just disperses. Bao Yu has to leave the warmth, the scent of the flowers, the fantasy of the poetess, and go back to work. Meanwhile,
Imagine owning something so rare, so incredibly opulent, that it is literally the last of its kind. I mean, we aren't just talking expensive, like I saved up for a year expensive. We're talking about something that cannot be replaced. The materials, the craftsmanship, they they don't exist anymore.
It's an endangered species of fashion.
Exactly. And now imagine you have to wear that thing out into a snowy, gloomy morning, knowing that just one little snag on a branch could destroy it forever.
That's the definition of high-stakes fashion.
Yeah.
But in the world we're exploring today, that clothing is a heavy metaphor for the people wearing it. It's luxury, yes, but it's luxury on the brink of disaster.
It really is. The family gathering is breaking up, cousins are leaving, but Bao Yu is hanging back. He's lingering.
He's desperate for a private moment with his cousin and, his love interest, Dayu. The text describes him as having a heart full of words.
I love that phrase.
It does so much heavy lifting.
Good
Heart
job.
full of words. It just captures that specific paralysis where you have so much to say that it's sort of short circuit.
Oh, totally. He's bursting with emotion, but the social rules and his own anxiety just choke him. He literally doesn't know where to start.
It's painful to watch.
It is. He actually tells her, we'll talk tomorrow, walks down the steps, and then boom, he turns right back around. He just can't leave.
But when he finally speaks, it's not some big profession of love.
No, he asks for data.
He asks for a medical report. How many times did you cough? How many times did you wake up?
And Dayu, who's usually so poetic, gives him raw numbers. She coughed only twice, and she says she slept for 1 watch. Now, a watch or a jeng, that isn't a full night's sleep, is it?
Far from it. The night is divided into 5 watches. So a jeng is a 2-hour period. She slept for 2 hours before waking up for good.
That's severe insomnia.
It is. But Bayu treats it as a victory. He's relieved because it's better than the night before.
It just shows how normalized chronic illness is in their relationship. Sickness is their baseline.
It's the language they use to care for each other. But look what happens next. This is the real insight here. Bayu leans in to whisper. He lowers his voice. He says, I was thinking about the bird's nest soup that Bao Chai sent you.
Okay, stop. Bird's nest soup. That's the big secret. That feels like whispering about, oatmeal.
It sounds trivial to us, I know, but you have to understand the political economy of this household. Bird's nest soup is an incredibly high-end tonic. It's expensive. For Bao Chai, the other main love interest, to be privately supplying Dayu with this, well, it implies a secret alliance.
Ah, because normally the food would come from the central kitchen, from the matriarchs, right?
Exactly. This is bypassing the official supply chains. It's off the books. If the elders knew the cousins were managing each other's health like this, it would be seen as improper, maybe even conspiring.
So it's not just soup, it's contraband intimacy.
Precisely. He's trying to acknowledge that he knows their secret. He wants to be part of that circle of trust.
But he never gets to finish the sentence. Just as the tension peaks.
Boom, the door opens. Aunt Zhao walks in.
And the whole vibe in the room just shifts from intimate to, glacial. In a split second.
Yeah, Aunt Zhao she's a polarizing figure. She's a concubine. She feels marginalized. She could be bitter. She's often the bad cop of the older generation.
He says she was just passing by, but what fascinates me is Dayu's reaction. 1 second, she's this exhausted, sick girl whispering with Bayu. The next, she transforms.
The social mask comes down. Dayu often gets criticized by readers for being moody, but look at her skills here. Flawless. She smiles, offers tea, makes small talk about the cold. She performs the role of dutiful niece perfectly.
Why, though? Is she afraid of Aunt Zhao?
She's managing risk. Aunt Zhao's a known gossip. If she sees Bayu and Dayu whispering together in a bedroom, she could twist that into a scandal. Dayu knows this. She is protecting them both by performing extreme politeness.
And she's multitasking while she does it. The text says she shoots a look at Bayu.
And Bayu, to his credit, gets it immediately. The text says he caught the meaning. He realizes his presence is a liability now, so he plays his part and exits.
It's a tragic kind of telepathy. They understand each other perfectly in silence, but can barely speak out loud.
That's the core tension of their lives. The luxury they live in comes with a total lack of privacy. There's always someone watching.
So Baoyu escapes that awkwardness and heads back to his own quarters. And this brings us to the night watch. We get this really detailed look at the sleeping arrangements, and honestly, it sounds like a logistics puzzle.
It is. So Baoyu isn't sleeping in his bedroom. He's sleeping outside the warm pavilion, the nuange.
Why?
Because his favorite maid, Qingwen, is sick. He's essentially sleeping guard outside her room. And then you have another maid, Wush, sleeping on something called a warming cage, a zunlong.
I looked this up. It's like a big bamboo frame over a charcoal brazier, right? For drying clothes.
Correct. It's a heated drying rack, sturdy enough to lie on, Tells you it's a bitterly cold night, and that's the warmest spot in the room.
It sounds crowded.
Uh-huh.
And clearly it's breaking some rules because the next morning, before the sun is even up, they launch a whole cover-up operation.
They do. Qingwen wakes everyone up in the dark. She tells Mushy to roll up the bedding, get the tea ready. They're scrambling to reset the room before the old mamas, the senior nannies, arrive.
This feels like a kids versus adults thing. What are they so afraid of?
They're afraid of the lecture. The nannies are the enforcers. If they saw the young master sleeping in the same room as a sick maid and another maid, they would launch into a whole tirade about passing on sickness.
And I love that Baoyu is in on it. He's not ordering them around. He's conspiring with them.
It reinforces that he identifies more with the young, fragile maids than with the authority figures of his own class. He's on their team.
So once the crime scene is cleared, the morning routine begins. And the sensory details here are just wild. But the breakfast, it seems, non-existent for a teenage boy.
Well, it's not about calories. It's about qi, or energy management. What does he have?
A small tea tray with dried lotus and red date soup, and he drinks. 2 sips. Just 2.
In traditional Chinese medicine, that's basically a tonic. It builds blood, calms the spirit. This isn't breakfast. It's medicine. He's taking a microdose of energy.
And then comes the ginger, a saucer of processed purple ginger. He doesn't chew it. He holds it in his mouth.
Right. The word is kin. It implies sucking on it gently. Purple ginger is young ginger, so it's tender, less spicy.
And why the ginger? Just for breath?
No, it's thermal regulation. Ginger is a yang food. It warms the body, dispels cold. He is about to go out into a freezing morning. He's basically turning on his internal heating before stepping outside.
That is such a vivid, practical detail. You can almost taste it. And speaking of the cold, they check the weather. It's gloomy. It's definitely going to snow.
And in the Jia household, the weather report dictates the wardrobe.
Which brings us to this peacock gold cloak. Baoyu gets to his grandmother Jia's room. It's a warm scene. Grandma's awake. Another cousin is sleeping in the background. But let's look at what Baoyu is already wearing.
Oh, he's stunning. Lychee-colored archer's sleeves, a red felt coat with gold embroidery. He looks like a walking jewel.
And yet, Grandmother Jia takes one look at him and goes, "Nope, you'll freeze."
That is universal grandma energy right there. It doesn't matter if you're wearing gold embroidery. If it's not warm enough, it's not good enough. So she orders her chief maid, Yuan Yang, to fetch the Qingwen.
The peacock gold fur. This isn't just a fancy name, is it?
No, the text is very specific. It says, this cloak is from Russia. It's made from peacock feathers that have been spun into thread and woven into a fabric.
I can't even process that. Spinning feathers into thread.
It's an ancient, extremely labor-intensive technique. And the fact that it's from Russia signals that it's an exotic import. It flashes golden and emerald brilliance.
But the most important part of this scene isn't the glamour, it's the warning. Grandmother Jia hands it to him and says, "Be careful with this. If you ruin it, there isn't another."
There is no other. That line should send a chill down your spine. It tells us that for all their immense wealth, the Jia family has hit a ceiling. They possess objects that cannot be replaced.
It implies scarcity.
Exactly. If this cloak tears, no amount of money can fix it because the supply chain doesn't exist anymore. It's a foreshadowing of the family's decline.
That adds a layer of anxiety to the luxury. But Baoyu, being a teenager, doesn't seem to care. He just thinks he looks cool. He puts it on, does a little bow, and then he tries to show it off to Yuan Yang.
This is such a crucial interaction. Yuan Yang is the chief maid. Baoyu says, "Good sister, look at me. He's fishing for a compliment."
And she completely shuts him down. The text says she ignores him, and when he gets close, she shakes off his hand and walks away.
To understand this, we have to remember Yuan Yang's recent history. Not long before this, Baoyu's uncle tried to force her to become his concubine. She had to make this huge public vow, swearing she'd never marry or she'd cut off her hair and become a nun.
So she's traumatized.
She is done with men. All of them, even Baoyu. When he struts over in his peacock cloak asking for attention, she doesn't see a cute cousin. She sees another male master in the system that tried to consume her.
Wow, that is a harsh reality check. He thinks the cloak makes him magnificent, and to her, it means nothing.
It's a moment of stark emotional rejection. Amidst all that splendor, his luxury cannot buy her affection anymore.
Baoyu seems a little stung, but he shakes it off and goes to his mother, Lady Wang, who just tells him, "Don't fall down, don't waste it. Everyone is stressed about this cloak."
The object owns them, they don't own the object.
Finally, Baoyu heads out. The grand departure. If the bedroom was intimate, this is a public spectacle. The entourage is just staggering.
Let's break down the numbers.
Okay, he has 6 older servants, plus 4 young pages. That's 10 staff members.
10 people to escort one boy to a lunch date.
Plus the gear. Bundles of clothes, sitting cushions, and a white horse with a carved saddle. It's a parade.
It really emphasizes his status. But notice, even with this army, Bao Yu is trying to negotiate.
The side door debate, this is so revealing. He's on his horse and he says, hey, let's go out the side gate. Why? To avoid riding past his father's study.
His father, Jia Zheng, is the ultimate disciplinarian. Even though his father isn't home, Bao Yu is terrified of the physical space that represents him. Custom dictates he must dismount and walk past as a sign of respect.
He's trying to be lazy.
And listen to how the servants push back. They don't say no, master. They bargain. They say, okay, we can take the shortcut, BUT. If we run into the steward Laida or your Uncle Lin, we are in trouble.
They say they will blame us for not teaching you manners.
That's the key. The servants are liable for the master's behavior. If Bao Yu misbehaves, they get punished. They're managing their own risk.
So they agree to the risk, head for the side gate, and of course, who do they immediately see?
Laida, the chief steward, the exact person they wanted to avoid.
The irony is perfect. So Bao Yu panics. He tries to scramble off the horse, but Laida rushes up and hugs his legs.
He's physically preventing Bao Yu from dismounting. He's saying, no, no, young master, don't inconvenience yourself on my account.
But Bao Yu still stands up in the stirrups to chat, it seems. Friendly.
It's a complex performance. Laida is technically a servant, but he's the head servant. He has immense power. So Bao Yu has to show him face by offering to dismount. Laida has to show Bao Yu face by refusing. It's a choreographed dance of humility.
It's like a CEO running into the chairman of the board.
Exactly. And while this is happening, there's an audience. 20 or 30 men with brooms, the sweepers.
The lowest rung of the hierarchy.
They're lined up against the wall like soldiers. The leader does a formal greeting.
And Bao Yu's reaction, he just nods. A noble nod from the top of his horse. He doesn't know them.
It's a jarring contrast. 10 minutes ago, he knew exactly how many times Tai Yu coughed. Now, 20 men are standing right there and they're invisible to him. Just scenery.
That's the takeaway on the social web. Intimacy is a privilege. As Bao Yu moves outward from his inner circle, people become abstractions.
And then finally, the group rides out. The text says, a cloud of smoke and dust.
They vanish, a grand exit for a young man in a cloak worth more than the lifetime earnings of all those sweepers combined.
It's cinematic.
Wow. When you stack it all up like that, from the whispers to the dust cloud, it's quite a journey.
Okay, let's shift scenes.
We're looking at a character who, within the span of, 12 hours or so, commits a brutal physical assault on a coworker,
Right.
and then turns right around and performs this delicate, heroic, the self-sacrificial act of artistry to save her master. It's whiplash.
It is. It's a total study in contradictions. We're focusing on Qingwen today. And I think when most people picture Dream of the Red Chamber, they're thinking, polite tea ceremonies, poetry clubs.
Shuttle romantic pining.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But chapter 52, this is visceral. We're dealing with high fevers, corporal punishment, bureaucratic infighting, and what is essentially the highest stakes fashion emergency in literary history.
It's so intense. We've got a hairpin that's basically used as a shiv, and then we have a cloak made of peacock gold. That sounds more valuable than my house.
Probably is.
So the mission today is to figure out how these two sides of Qingwen, the tyrant and the savior, how do they coexist? So let's set the scene. We're in the Jia household, it's winter, and Qingwen is sick. And she is not a suffer in silence kind of patient, is she?
Oh, far from it. The text makes it absolutely clear she is miserable. She has a cold, a fever, her nose is all stuffed up, and she is just incredibly irritable.
She's lashing out.
At everything. She's cursing the doctor, calling him a swindler who just wants to cheat them out of money with, bad medicine.
I honestly loved that detail. It just makes her feel so modern. We've all been there, right? You feel terrible, the meds aren't working, and you just want to scream at someone.
Yeah, but she takes it a step further. She feels abandoned by the other maids.
Right.
She does. She looks around the room, and the other maids have kind of drifted off, probably to get a break from her temper, let's be honest. And she accuses them of drilling into the sand to hide from her. It's this very vivid image of people trying to escape a predator. And she threatens them. She says once she recovers, she's going to peel their skin.
It sets this baseline of just incredibly high tension. You can just feel it. The air in the room must feel stifling. You've got the smell of herbal medicine, the heat from the braziers, and this sick, angry woman watching everyone like a hawk. And then there's this moment of philosophy, kind of, amidst all the anger. Shay, one of the other senior maids, she tries to calm her down with a proverb.
It's a beautiful line. She says, illness comes like a mountain falling, but goes like spinning silk.
Goes like spinning silk. I actually stopped to think about that image. When you get sick, it hits you all at once. Bam, the mountain just falls on you.
Right.
But recovery, you have to pull it out inch by inch, like this one thin thread. It's so frustratingly slow.
And that's the core conflict for Qingwen. She is a person of speed, of action. She hates spinning silk. She wants the mountain gone now.
And because she can't fight the virus?
She needs a physical target for her frustration. Enter Zhuer.
Okay, this scene was tough to read. So Zhuer is a lower-ranking maid. The notes imply she's been caught stealing a bracelet, or at least she's suspected of it.
And she's generally seen as lazy, yeah.
But the punishment... Walk us through what actually happens here, because this is not a formal reprimand.
You know, it is an explosion of violence. Qingwen is lying in bed, weak, dizzy. But when Zhuer comes within range, Qingwen summons this terrifying burst of adrenaline. She grabs Zhuer's hand and takes a one zhang blue.
Okay, we have to pause on the one zhang blue. The text treats it so casually, but for us, we really need to visualize this. It's a hairpin, right?
It is, but you have to get the image of, like, a plastic bobby pin out of your head.
Right. This is not that.
No. This is a long metal styling tool, probably glued steel. One zhang is a measurement. It implies it's quite long, though that's probably hyperbole in the name. But think of it as a sharp metal stiletto used to hold up these intricate hairstyles.
So on a vanity, it's an accessory.
In Qingwen's hand, it's an improvised dagger.
And she uses it. The text says she stabbed wildly. She's just driving this metal spike into the girl's hand over and over again.
While screaming insults at her. And this is crucial. Listen to what she attacks. She calls Zhuer's hands claws.
Claws.
She screams, what use are these claws? You can't hold the needle, you can't move thread, you only know how to steal food.
That's a very specific grievance. She isn't just mad about the theft, she's mad about
the incompetence. Precisely. In Qingwen's worldview, your value as a human being is directly tied to the skill of your hands.
Wow.
If your hands can't create beauty, if they can't sew or embroider, then they are just claws. And if they're claws that steal, she says they're better off poked rotten. It's a brutal meritocratic cruelty.
And then she expels her, just like that. She doesn't wait for the household managers. She basically invokes the name of the master, Bao Yu, to kick Zhuer out instantly.
She uses Bao Yu's authority as a bludgeon. She tells the older servant, Song Mama, that Bao Yu personally ordered it.
She gives the order and Zhuer is dragged out.
Yep.
So scene 1 ends with Qingwen as the tyrant. But then we get the fallout. And this is where the social landscape of the book gets so fascinating. Zhuer's mother shows up. And honestly, I expected her to be screaming about the assault. I mean, her daughter's hand has just been turned into a pincushion, but that's not her main complaint.
No, and this is where a modern Western reader might get a little tripped up. The mother is upset about face, about procedure.
Right.
She's a senior servant, a wife of a servant. She feels that the way her daughter was fired haphazardly by a sick maid without any formal process was disrespectful to her status.
It's like being fired via text message, but worse, because it insults your whole family's standing in the company.
That's a great way to put it. It's a violation of the social contract. So the mother comes in to argue, but she makes a huge tactical error.
The name controversy.
She tries to catch Qingwen on a technicality to get the upper hand. She attacks Qingwen for how she addresses the master.
Right. She accuses her of being a savage because she calls him Bao Yu just by his name instead of master or yi. She's basically saying, you think you're so high and mighty, but you don't even know the basic rules of respect.
It's a bold move. She's trying to frame the maids as unruly, undisciplined.
Yeah.
But Shay, the same maid who gave the proverb earlier, she steps in and essentially acts as a defense attorney.
Oh, and Shay's rebuttal is brutal. It's a masterclass in you don't know who you're messing with. What's her first point?
She appeals to the Supreme Court, the grandmother.
That old lady.
Yep. She explains that the old lady specifically ordered everyone to call him Bao Yu by his childhood name. There's a superstition that using a common affectionate name makes a child easier to raise. It protects them from evil spirits who might get jealous of a grandiose title.
So by calling him Bayou, they're not being rude. They're actually following the highest order of the matriarch.
Correct. And then Shay twists the knife. She points out that the mother works outside the third gate.
Ooh.
Yeah. In these massive estates, there's a strict divide between the inner quarters, where the family and close mates live, and the outer quarters. Shi basically says, "You're an outsider. You don't know how things work in here."
It's the ultimate "you can't sit with us" moment. She's saying you don't have the security clearance to understand why we speak this way.
And finally, she just uses pure logic.
Yeah.
She says, "We report to the old lady and the madame hundreds of times a day. If we had to say Master Bao Yu or Young Master every single time, our mouths would fall off." She asks, "Do you expect us to say Master 200 times a day?"
And the mother just crumbles. She realizes she's walked right into a trap. She has to shut up, and Zhuer has to bow to the maids, who just ignore her and leave. It really cements the power of these maids. I mean, they're servants, technically, but within their domain.
They're untouchable.
Untouchable, as long as they're useful. Which brings us to the crisis.
The crisis.
Okay, so imagine this. You have borrowed a vintage, one-of-a-kind couture gown from a museum for, like, the Met Gala. It is irreplaceable. And the night before the event, you accidentally burn a cigarette hole right in the front.
Okay, yeah.
That is the level of panic Bao Yu is in.
That is a perfect analogy. Bao Yu comes home absolutely devastated.
Yeah.
Grandmother Jia had gifted him a cloak made of peacock gold thread. It's rare, it's Russian imports, it's flashy.
But he burned a hole in the collar with a hand warmer. And he has to wear it the next day for a major family gathering.
It's a huge deal. If he doesn't wear it, the grandmother will be offended. If she sees the hole, he looks irresponsible. It's a disaster.
So they do the logical thing. They send it out to the professionals.
They bundle it up and send a servant to scour the city. They go to the best weavers, the specialized tailors, the master embroiderers. They offer any amount of money.
I know.
One by one, the professionals turn it down.
Why? These are the experts.
Fear. Pure fear. They look at the material and they don't even recognize it. They don't have the specific peacock feather thread to match it. And they are terrified that if they touch it, they'll make it worse and be held liable for a fortune.
So the entire industry of the city says...
No, thank you. It just emphasizes how impossibly rare this object is.
So Bayou comes back, resigned. He's ready to face the music. He says he'll just be swept of excitement. His day is ruined.
And this is where Qingwen steps up.
Right. Remember, she's dizzy, she's feverish, she just finished screaming at everyone, but she looks at the cloak and says, "Let me see."
She realizes she's the only one. She knows they have some peacock thread in their inventory. It's not a perfect match, but she understands the weave structure. She knows she can camouflage the patch if she's careful enough.
But the physical cost, I mean, she can barely sit up.
The text describes her as head-heavy, body-light. She's seeing gold stars spinning in her vision. That's hypoxia. That's fever delirium. But she says, "I'll struggle for my life to do it."
I want to get into the weeds of the actual mending process here, because the book treats it like a technical manual. This isn't just she sewed it up. It's like a surgical procedure.
It is. First, she has to rip the lining to get access to the back. Then she calls for a bamboo bow. It's a specific tool about the size of a teacup, used to stretch the fabric taut over the hole, like a tiny localized embroidery hoop.
And she uses a gold knife.
Yes, a small precision knife. She has to scrape the burned edges of the hole to make them loose and soft so there's no hard ridge. Then comes the hardest part. She has to take the peacock thread and split it.
Split the thread itself.
Oh, yeah. She has to separate the warp from the weft and then weave it back and forth, mimicking the original loom pattern by hand.
And she's doing this while feeling like she's about to pass out.
She can only do 3 or 4 stitches at a time. Then she has to collapse back onto the pillow, close her eyes, gasp for air. Then she forces herself up again. 3 more stitches, collapse. It's agonizing to read.
And the dynamic in the room just flips completely. Bao Yu, the master who has servants for everything, he becomes her nurse.
It's a really touching, intimate reversal. He's bringing her boiling water to sip. He's massaging her back. He puts a squirrel fur cape over her shoulders to keep her warm. He's pleading with her, saying, "You'll ruin your eyes, let's just give up." But she refuses.
Why does she refuse? Why kill yourself for a cloak?
I think it goes back to the clause. This is her proving her worth. The outside world failed. The other maids failed. She is the only one who can do this. It validates her arrogance. It proves that she deserves her place in the hierarchy, even if she breaks the rules sometimes. Her skill is her identity.
So the scene goes on all night. The text mentions the clock striking 4 in the morning. She finally finishes. But she's not done right. There's one last detail that just blew my mind. The toothbrush.
Oh, the toothbrush. This is my favorite detail in the whole chapter.
It's incredible.
She looks at the patch and sees it's a little bit flat compared to the rest of the fuzzy peacock fabric. So she takes a small toothbrush and gently brushes the patch to fluff up the velvet or the down so that it blends in seamlessly.
A toothbrush in 18th century literature, it adds this incredible texture. It shows her perfectionism. She doesn't just want it fixed, she wants it invisible.
And only when Bayou looks at it and says it's exactly the same, only then does she let go. She says, "I can do no more," and she collapses. The text says she involuntarily fell down. It implies total system failure. She used up every last ounce of that spinning silk she had left.